What's up, everybody? It's Harley with the Thoughtful Talk. Once again, coming to you with some information about the Somali immigrant from Minneapolis that was supposedly wrongfully detained by ICE. We're going to be looking at the press conference Mayor Jacob Frey did. Involving that Somali immigrant who was supposedly wrongfully detained. Let's get into it. If you haven't liked and subscribed, share this video with your friends. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's show. Today's episode, we're talking about the Somali Minneapolis resident and details of him being wrongfully arrested, allegedly, by ICE in Minneapolis, in and around the Cedar Riverside area. I'm going to give a little context after we watch this video. Let's go to the TV.
What you very clearly saw in that video was Mubashir, an American citizen, someone who has been here nearly his entire life, tackled, handcuffed, taken into custody for no reason at all, in clear violation of law and the Constitution of the United States, for simply walking down the street and looking like he's Somali. This should make every single person in America, whether you are a Democrat or Republican, livid.
I'm going to do this in a couple different parts. We're not going to watch and tear apart the whole video. I'm going to show a couple of segments because the Somali immigrant, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. He does share his part. And this was caught on video. It's circulating. I'm not going to play that video at all, just because. But he does share a part of his story. And unfortunately, ads do still play because I don't have YouTube Premium. But yeah, let's go back to the TV. We're going to hear Mubashir talk his part.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mubashir.
Mubashir.
And I never expected to be standing in front of all these cameras and microphones. But what happened to me cannot stay quiet. What happened to me was unjust, uncalled for. I was simply on my lunch break. I literally went downstairs from my building. I wasn't even outside for mere seconds before I seen a masked person running at me full speed. He tackled me, pushed me inside the restaurant, like as you can see in the video. I told him I'm a U.S. citizen, what is going on? He didn't seem to care. He dragged me outside through the snow while I was handcuffed, restrained, helpless, and he pushed me to the ground, and he put me in a chokehold. And that was very uncalled for. I thought I got really hurt. And after that, they put me inside the vehicle. And they asked me, we have to verify if you're a U.S. citizen, because I believe you're an illegal citizen because you ran from me. But as you can see in the videos that will be released, I'm simply just standing still. I asked them, okay, they said, let me take a picture of you to scan your face to see if you're a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, so getting into this, and I sent a message to my wife earlier because I was looking at this, and well, let's go to the article. We'll go to the article first. So this is an article from NPR, which I don't typically get down with, but I'll read it. As ICE immigration enforcement intensifies across the country, a Supreme Court ruling permits racial profiling as grounds for immigration stops. Get out of here. Federal immigration raids are getting more and more common across the country. On Monday, the Supreme Court cleared the way for federal immigration enforcement agents in Los Angeles to use race or other profiling factors in deciding who to stop and potentially detain. At the same time, ICE has expanded operations in Massachusetts and Illinois, and it remains active in Washington, D.C. With the backing of the federal government and the courts, ICE is moving quickly to carry out the White House's deportation agenda. So what does this mean for protecting the civil rights of Americans? For more on this, we're going to bring in NPR immigration, blah, 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 right? Let me see if I can't pull this up for you. I didn't really have this one ready because I wasn't going to talk about it like this, but I am going to pull it up. Just 1 second here. I believe this is it. So as everybody's complaining, okay, real be real, and obviously this is from 2025. Let me see, can I zoom in here for you? Christy Noem, Secretary, Department of Homeland Security, versus Pedro Velasquez, blah, blah. Let's go down here. I was reading it. A vote to grant the government's application for an interim stay pending appeal of the district court's injunction. The Immigration and Nationality Act authorizes immigration officers to interrogate any alien or person believed to be an alien as to his right to be or to remain in the United States. Cites a statute. Immigration officers may briefly detain an individual for questioning if they have a reasonable suspicion based on specific articulable facts that the person being questioned is an alien illegally in the United States, right? And it, of course, cites more statutes, right? So where's it at? So yeah, here we go. So immigration stops based on reasonable suspicion of illegal presence have been an important component of U.S. immigration enforcement for decades across several presidential administrations. In this case, however, the district court enjoined U.S. immigration officers from making investigative stops in the Los Angeles area when the stops are based on the following factors or combination. Okay, presence at particular locations such as bus stops, car washes, day labor pickup sites, agricultural sites, and the like. The type of work one does, speaking Spanish or speaking English with an accent, and apparent race or ethnicity. So those things in conjunction with. So say for an example, right, our man in the video, right, is... what they're saying is if he appears to be, right, say, a group that they are looking into, right? So, a group of interest in the state of Minnesota right now is the Somali population, right? Now, if he so happened to be, right, coming out of an employer that had been known to, right, employ undocumented people, right? Or he was in an area where those kind of people hang out, right? And where they have caught them before, then he is 100% legally detainable. And they're able to stop him, question him, check him out. One thing I'm really sick of seeing in the mainstream media, especially with videos like the one that's on the screen right now, is unfortunately people themselves won't go look into the information themselves, okay? And they'll say, well, that's unconstitutional for the person if he's a citizen, because of course we all should know that the only way you have constitutional rights, right, under our country's constitution is if you are a legal documented citizen. Period. Otherwise, you don't. And people say, well, again, it's against the Fourth Amendment. Well, really, in all reality, ICE has been doing stuff like this for years. Even the Supreme Court said that, right? I'm not saying entirely that it's right. I'm not saying that it's wrong, okay? What I am saying is that if you don't want to be detained by ICE, and potentially you might look like you're a part of one of these groups, right? Don't be in places where they know these undocumented people are hanging out, right? Don't work for an employer that employs people, right, that are undocumented. I mean, it's plain and simple. You know, and for them to sit in a press conference and make it sound like they victimized this guy, I mean, yeah, that's got to be pretty traumatic. I could level with the guy, right? I could level with the people. You're probably right. You know what I mean? That's got to really suck. The guy goes on to say that, you know, after detaining him for so long in the vehicle, they brought him to a place in Bloomington, Minnesota, which is apparently their detainment facility. Where other people were. Of course, he goes on to say, well, I asked for water. They didn't give me water. Okay. And he said, I asked multiple times. They wouldn't do it. He said he had his passport on his phone. They wouldn't let him open his phone to show his passport. What he did do is that he refused to allow them to scan his face. That's it. All he had to do when he was standing out there and they grabbed him up initially is they said, look, we got to scan your face, dude. And he said, no, I'll give you my first name, my last name, my date of birth, whatever, right? That doesn't make it very easy for them because, you know, at the end of the day, right, they're trying to check other sources, right? He didn't have his passport on him, which I don't know what that has to do with it. But because most people have like a driver's license, right? Can't you have a driver's license or an identification on you? That doesn't make sense. However, apparently they brought him there and they put him in a detention, whatever, and then finally they let him open up his phone to show his passport. And then when they let him go, they didn't want to give him a ride back, right? Which that's how that goes. Like with law enforcement, if you get picked up, you're detained. I'm not saying the guy did anything wrong, like legally. However, right? That's just how that goes, man. You know, he's like, my mom came and picked me up. Great. I'm glad you have parents. But yeah, that's all I wanted to really share on and touch on. But let's listen to the rest of his story.
I declined because how will a picture prove I'm a U.S. citizen? I told him I have my passport. It's in my phone. Can I open and show you? He declined. I told him, can I give you my name and my date of birth? He declined. So he took me on the other side of Cedar, and they kept me there for 45 minutes. Just asking, we have to scan your face, we have to scan your face. After about a whole hour, they said, okay, we can do your fingerprints on our phones. And the fingerprints were not working.
That didn't work.
So I guess they waited on 20 more minutes, and they said, we're going to take you into Bishop Henry, all the way in Bloomington. While they were driving me all the way there, they were wasting time. They kept going back in the same highway. I told them, are you guys lost?
I like how he said that, like as if they were intentionally trying to cause him problems. You know, the thing about the left is they're always playing on this race card, like as if it has something to do with this race thing. ICE isn't just targeting groups that they would consider minority. They're targeting people from all walks of life who possibly could have came here illegally. And I mean, how are we so brainless that we miss this? You know? And then these people go into these press conferences and they're just like, look, you know, oh, I was wrongfully detained, dude. No, actually, according to the U.S. Supreme Court, you weren't. And that's the truth, and that's the problem, you know? So with that, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you guys hit the like, follow, and subscribe. Like, subscribe, and share. Excuse me, that's what I meant to say. I'm going to leave a link to the document I was showing in the description. Go down in the comments and tell me what you think. Thank you so much for tuning in.